Prague is one of the most historical and culturally amazing cities in Europe. It's a huge city in a tiny space. When I met the founders of the company and they described their vision for growing a short-term apartmental rental business in Prague with a contactless system, the Operto system, the vision excited me. It's something I wanted to be part of going forwards. My name is Colin Stanley. I'm working as the Chief Operating Officer of Prague Residences. I've been with the company quite a short time after COVID, which meant I came back in as the company got back on its feet and returned to short-term rental. During COVID, they were in long-term rental. And in Prague, the attitude towards short-term rental is reasonably positive compared to a lot of other locations. Of course, it always has people for and against, but overall, it's a very successful sector in the Prague market. I came in as the automation process was already started, and then together with the team, we've been looking at how to improve it, implement the systems, provide feedback, make that experience for guests simpler and easier so that they can maximize their stay in Prague. One of the advantages of being located in Prague 1 with all of our products is that you walk out the door and in minutes you are in not just the center of Prague, the cultural center of Prague, and you have all of those spots that as a tourist or someone who wants to get to know a city, you want to see. The center points, the historical points, the river, the castle, and everything is almost immediately visible as soon as you walk out of our doors. We have all of our apartments within a 15-minute walking distance of the center of Old Town Square, because we believe the closer you are to the center, the more you're immersed in the city as a whole. Whether you want to sightsee, whether you want to enjoy the cultural life, culinary life, it's all here in Prague 1.
Yeah, so Prague Residences it's a great company with really beautiful properties and a really great team. And they wanted to scale, and some of the processes that they had in place and the dependence on physical check-in centers and greeting every guest in person was sort of holding them back from being able to scale and to do so profitably and efficiently. I'm Mike Anderson. I'm Operto's Director of Enterprise Sales. And what we've really seen is this increasing collision between the short-term rental space and the hotel space, where hotels want to operate with the efficiency and the sort of technology-led operating style of a short-term rental, and short-term rentals want to operate with the professionalism and the hospitality that we more typically associate with a hotel. So leveraging technology and instituting a contactless process enabled them to replace some of their front desk operations, which are a little bit more redundant, and instead pivot to a style of hospitality that was more digitized and really showcased all that they had to offer and welcomed guests in a new and creative way.
Prague Residences is currently divided into 3 sections. We have luxury living, which is the section we're in now. We have a local living, which is the more accessible tier of our apartments. And we have a hotel division, where we actually have 2 hotel products. And part of the hotel division, of course, is a hotel reception, which is available 24/7, which gives us that additional benefit of being able to offer assistance and contact to people in our apartments 24 hours a day. Well, we have 18 locations currently in Prague, and we're still looking to grow as quickly as we can, of course. Each product is a little bit different, but the essential elements of the product are always the same. We try and create space, we try and create a fully equipped kitchen, we try and maximize independence. We want to have people go out and do their shopping in the local area. We have all our locations very close to the center, which means that they can very easily immerse themselves in Prague life, but they also have their little oasis of calm when they go back to the apartment at the end of the day. So for us, guest experience is not just where you are, but it's how you interact with where you are. You plan your time as you want, and you have complete independence with our contactless system to come and go as you please.
I think one of the most exciting things about the Prague Residences project has been that it's brought together multifaceted pieces of our ecosystem that normally we wouldn't see. So from short-term rental to vacation rental to a small boutique hotel, there's a number of misconceptions in the market when it comes to digital transformation, especially in our industry. One of them being that it's cost prohibitive, and the other one being that it's just too hard and is my staff going to buy in? There's a couple things there. It's really important that when you're doing this, that you're doing it consultatively with your staff so that they understand this is why we're introducing technology into the business, so that we can reimagine what a guest experience looks like, that we can offer our guests the type of journey that they're looking for.
If we go prior to COVID, which is where the story begins, there were less locations. I think there were 12 locations at the time, and there were 4 receptions. So each reception had a certain number of buildings that they looked after. Pain points are pretty much the same as everyone has them now, which is getting people. People, and particularly qualified people in hospitality now, are very rare. It's very difficult to get a hold of them, to keep them. So the plan already before I came on board in the company was to go contactless and maximize flexibility, save cost, and mean that we have a smaller team of people that we can invest into long term. Without being able to get a hold of people to man those receptions, even our initial plan of 3 receptions proved to be unrealistic. So currently we're working with 1, which means that the contactless system becomes incredibly important to how we work. We could not work without it, in all honesty. So we've actually been happy to go through the painful process of implementing it, finding the things that we can improve, learning how to present the information to guests better and better in terms of how the system works, to the point where we have more than half of our portfolio now working through the contactless system.
So when Prague Residences approached us, they had a vision for how they wanted to operate, and they'd heard that Operto was, one of the leaders in property automation and running a contactless operation. So when we engaged with them, it was a very consultative process to understand, what they wanted to achieve with this new process, and then sort of aligning our services and the pieces of technology that we were going to leverage to meet them where they were and to deliver everything that they needed to run it successfully. And there's a lot of unique considerations with every client. So it's not quite as easy as saying, well, let's slap on a smart lock or give guests access to a mobile key. If you want to truly engineer a contactless process, there's a lot of different facets of that need to be considered in terms of guest communication, and how do we message them, what type of language are we using, how do we encourage them to complete a digital check-in process, how are we making staff available to answer any questions that they have. With Prague Residences, they had a lot of unique considerations that were important for us to build a proper contactless process. So they had things like heritage buildings where we were limited in the types of technology and types of equipment that we could install. They have requirements with the Czech police to report information about the different travelers that they're hosting in Prague, and we needed to facilitate those requirements and enable them to adhere to that requirement. They also list on multiple different channels, and they promote their businesses in different ways, and we need to have the ability to contact each guest, whether they're coming through Airbnb or Booking.com or through Prague Residences' direct website. So a lot of these considerations need to be taken into account, and when you strategically design the process that will enable a property or properties to go contactless, there's a lot to take into account, and that's where Operto really can apply some of our strategic vision and our expertise in curating a journey that's unique to each client that we work with.
Now, the contactless system means that we can have fewer people looking after those people who come to our hotel product. The front desk is located in a hotel product rather than a contactless product. So they're able to devote more time to looking after those people, interacting with them, providing directions, helping them enjoy their stay in Prague, while the other products allow more flexibility. I think when you look at the apartment product, you already have a different expectation. The expectation isn't that you have to go to a front desk. The whole point of the apartmental product is that independence, the easier arrival. You're not restricted by having to wait in queues, go through processes when you arrive, and that's why we've gone the direction we've gone in. The apartment mentality is very much about, it's my stay, I want to just get in, I don't necessarily need to talk with someone. If everything's smooth, why would I? I'm going home. I'm just going home somewhere else.
When we first launched, this type of technology was really only being leveraged in the short-term rental space. And as it's evolved over the previous years, and especially with the sort of accelerating effect of COVID, what we've seen is hotels and sort of near hotel operations want to run more like a short-term rental. A lot of prospective clients think or are worried that technology might replace humans, and that they'll lose some of the hospitality through the process of automation. And tactfully employed technology is not a replacement to human. It's actually something that allows people to be more expressive, more engaging, and actually focus on providing hospitality. So too often, the staff at a hotel or a short-term rental business are really focused on the transactional elements of receiving a guest and seeing them into their space. And when we actually remove that through automation and through technology, it allows them to be more personable, more genuine, and have more conversations and less transactions.
Before we implemented Operto as a system, and of course everything had to be done physically. The guest had to be on the spot, they had to receive keys, Keys had to be returned, keys got lost. Everything was subject to how many people come to the reception at a particular time. The Czech Republic has quite a strict process for registering guests. We need to have a lot of personal information. With Operto, we have taken all of that away. The company has moved from having 4 receptions pre-COVID to having 1 reception after COVID, with all the rest of the buildings functioning on the contactless system, with the reception as a backup, with the net result that we're saving around $10,000 a month.
So a lot of that is changing guest expectations. Guests want more from their stays. Once you've stayed in a short-term rental or in a beautifully furnished apartment, you become used to having that kitchen space, the living room, and suddenly going to a more typical hotel room, doesn't necessarily feel quite as comforting. So now we're seeing this collision where we're seeing hotels being operated inside of apartment buildings and hotel quality stays being provided in short-term rentals. And really that's trying to meet the guests where their expectations are while still running a profitable and efficient business model. Guest experience, in our view, is really about making your property stand out. So when the guest books with you, you want to surprise them, you want to delight them, you want to engage them in ways that maybe they didn't necessarily expect. So doing so with technology and giving them the best of both worlds and providing them everything they need at the tip of their fingers, while still giving them the ability to talk to a human being if they need to, really enables them to take control over their own journey. How Operto views the guest experience is about utilizing technology to empower the guest to have control over their own journey and to go about their vacation or their trip as they see fit. At Operto, we actually cater to the full spectrum of guest accommodation, which is both short-term rentals and hotels, but within that world of hotels, we also work with multiple different subsets of clients. So on one hand, you have traditional full-service properties with a front desk, with on-site staff, who use technology to augment their processes and be more efficient. And then at the other end of the spectrum, we have fully autonomous properties. So hotels that have 0 on-site staff other than cleaners and maintenance people. And they use technology to really pilot the entire customer journey from start to finish. A lot of these trends were actually in place before COVID, but COVID really accelerated them. So the push for contactless prompted a lot of businesses to institute these types of practices, probably before they would have, but all of these trends were sort of bubbling below the surface prior to COVID.
A lot of vendors in the market will concentrate solely on a single vertical, whether that's short-term rental, whether that's vacation rental, whether that's multifamily, or it might even be boutique hotels. And I think that while there's a lot of good providers that service those particular niches, what Operto does exceptionally well is we're able to work across those different types. We can do a lot of things for a lot of different types of users because a lot of different portfolios, they have a mixture, of boutique hotels and multifamily, and they might have some vacation rental as well. That's really important that they can tie it all together in one system versus having multiple vendors that are basically doing the same thing. We've done an exceptional job, and we work with a lot of our partners to get the balance right between technology and the human element. One of the most important things when you are transforming your business from sort of an old school analog operation to sort of this new school digital world that we're living in is that you've got a human element that's naturally woven into your vendor, right? So at Operto, it's very important for us that yes, we do supply the technology. We absolutely work with all the best vendors from across the world. But we also have that safety net behind that with the human touch, because things do go wrong, things do break, and it's important that you don't just put your technology out there and say set it and forget it and it's just going to work all the time, because that's just not true.
With Operto, we've actually been quite happy to have our weekly calls where we discuss our feedback, because every time you implement something, you find something which is a little different than you expected it was going to work. But we've been very happy with Operto. There's always a productive, constructive conversation in how we can improve the product and make sure that guests have as seamless a process as possible, and that we have as seamless a process as possible so we can support those guests.
I think as a company, we're very proud of our technology, but me as a CEO, I'm actually more proud of our people. We have a fantastic CS team that is constantly in touch with our customers, making sure we understand their businesses, where they want to be today, tomorrow, and in 5 years from now. And we work in a very consultative way to ensure that that happens.
Similarly to most of our clients, Prague residences really face one main challenge, which is to improve the on-site guest experience during the check-in, but also at the same time reduce the amount of staff needed to facilitate this check-in. I'm Stephanie, and I'm a Customer Success Manager, Team Lead for Operto Europe. Prague Residences was not only looking at the on-site guest experience, but also looking at the process pre-check-in. Operto brought three main solutions to the table. The first one being digital check-in, the mobile web app, and most importantly, the access control to the rooms.
A lot of hotels, when they decide they want to go contactless, what they end up doing is implementing a mobile key, or at least that's the first thing they think of. So the guests can use their phone to open a lock, and then we don't need to give them a key. The challenge with that is that mobile key is just not going to work for 100% of your guests. You can't depend on it all of the time because guests will lose their phone, they'll break their phone, you'll have older travelers that are not comfortable using technology that way, or people that just don't want to download another phone app. And that's why we've seen in this industry really low download rates, often single-digit percentage points for the download rate of mobile key apps. Operto has a different spin on it. While we do leverage a mobile key and give the ability for the guest to experience that tech-forward way of accessing their room, we also introduce the redundancy of access codes. So every guest has a unique access code, 4 to 6 digits, that's programmed onto a lock, which they can use to enter without using their phone and without using a physical device. What this means is you have a system that works for 100% of your guests. Anybody, no matter what age you are, what language you speak, or how comfortable you are with technology, can use an access code because we all use it with PIN codes and our credit cards and everything else. If you're 100% dependent on a mobile key, then you need a physical system to stand behind that. So for any guest that can't use a mobile key, you need to be able to issue a physical credential. Operto has a different spin on how we provide contactless access. While we do leverage a mobile key for any guests that want to have that sort of tech-forward experience, we also implement access codes for every guest, which provides redundancy. So it's not enough to just have smart locks. There's a lot of other pieces of the process that need to be considered. First and foremost is the digital check-in. If you want to digitize a front desk, then we need to replicate the actions of a front desk in a digital format, which means taking an ID, taking a security deposit, taking a credit card, making sure it's a valid credit card. These are all the steps that we can do with the Operto guest portal and our guest verification module.
Without being able to get a hold of people to man those receptions, even our initial plan of 3 receptions proved to be unrealistic. So currently we're working with 1, which means that the contactless system becomes incredibly important to how we work. We could not work without it, in all honesty. So we've actually been happy to go through the painful process of implementing it, finding the things that we can improve, learning how to present the information to guests better and better in terms of how the system works, to the point where we have more than half of our portfolio now working through the contactless system.
We reached that point of trust and full completion thanks to weekly contacts with Karel and Colin, evaluating what was going well, what was going wrong. Then we were going back to some of the blockades that we could have had, finding a solution, applying to the next building. And so we constantly improve, and the way that the first building was onboarded back in June last year is probably totally different than the way we will onboard the last building now, a year after the first building was onboarded.
Every time we work with a new client, there's some growth that takes place. Every market, every country, every client's business model is different, and there's a lot of things that you have to take into account. Coming up with a vision that was going to work for Prague Residences and enabled us all to be successful in providing that sort of contactless experience was a learning experience and something that we can certainly apply to other clients, not just in Prague, but across Europe and around the world. I'd say what's next for Prague Residences is growth. Coming out of COVID, they've now implemented a system and the processes that are going to allow them to be an efficient and scaled operator. And I know they have big ambitions for taking on more properties and really growing their footprint in Prague and really becoming one of the Czech Republic's premier providers of short-term accommodation. One of the great things about partnering with Operto is that we provide a technology platform that is going to evolve and grow right alongside them. So it's not just buying something at a fixed point in time, it's partnering with a company that is going to support your growth for years and years to come. And as we come out with new integrations and new devices and new challenges that we're solving, Prague Residences is going to be able to deploy those and utilize them at every one of their properties and accelerate their growth with everything great that we have coming out in the years to come.
It's really important to me that we're servicing our clients, that we're always ahead of where our clients want to be as a business, and we're always listening, and we're always making sure that we're putting ourselves in their shoes, because we want to make sure that we're removing as many pain points from their day-to-day operations as possible. One of the beautiful things that this technology unlocks for our users is that you can start to reimagine what the guest experience looks like from the time they arrive to the time that they're staying with you and to the time that they've left your property. And I think that, you know, when you look at a Prague Residences, they were able to redeploy that human capital into places in their business where they were potentially more impactful for the guest. So whether that's someone who's greeting someone or helping carry bags to their room, whatever that might look like, it's really exciting that technology allows us to unlock the power of human capital. From an operational perspective, the most exciting thing for an owner-operator is that they can now sort of reimagine the way that they want to run their business. So in the case of Prague Residences, that's a fundamental shift in someone's business model, and technology unlocks the ability to do that.
I think there's almost no limit to where this automation can go. Right now we're taking baby steps in implementing the contactless system, but as we plan forward, I can imagine in 10 years that it would be completely automated, right down to the temperature, right down to noise, right down to notifications. On a corporate level, we want to be not just the biggest provider of short-term accommodation in Prague, but also the best provider. And that goes right through from the product, which we're investing a lot of time and energy into, all the way down to the guest perspective, which is, can guests come to the apartment without having to go to check-in, without having to go through any other processes. We want to basically work in the 21st century. I wanted to talk about the astronomical clock. No.
Is my French accent not too bad?
We also implement access codes for every guest, which provides redundancy. So,
unlocking the power of human capital.
Beat that, Mike Anderson.
Hey Colin, thank you very much.
Okay, can I just do a little bit about Manchester United?
Yes.
Oh.